everyone, and welcome back to the Lifecentral Podcast for a cheeky little bonus episode. Because our dear pastor, Leon, has only gone and written a book, haven't you?
I have.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Deb.
It's good to see you.
Thank you.
I love a book. I love getting lost in a novel. I love actually, and more recently, being challenged actually by a non-fiction book. And really that's why we're here talking today. Now, I remember sitting down with you in December 2023, not long after we'd started this part of the podcast. And you and Alison and I were all sat in your old office, and you shared with me then that you literally just been asked to write a book. And I guess really my first question for you would be, what's the origin story here? Like, how do you go from, I guess, always wanting to write a book, which you shared with me before, but having never written one, to, hey, can you write a book? Like, how did we get there?
Yeah, great question. So I have always wanted to write a book, and people have often said, why don't you write a book? But I've never been one of these people that says, oh, I'm going to write a book, you know? And I think I know enough about book writing to know it's not an easy process. And I've never really had enough motivation or maybe time or whatever to do it. But then because I'm involved with Spring Harvest, which is a big Christian festival in this country, and I'm on the leadership, they commission somebody to write a book every year as the theme book that goes alongside the event. And they asked me if I would write the one for 2025. So they gave me the theme, they gave me the background, there was a team behind it, there was a publisher. So I thought, I'm never going to have a better opportunity to write a book. And actually, when they did give me the theme, once I'd processed it a little bit, because it is quite an interesting theme, I really began to feel that theme. And I thought, actually, this does feel like me. Do you know what I mean? And us as well as a church. So that's it.
Well, the most important question that I wanted to ask you was, when we do get our hands on a physical copy of this book, are you doing autographs?
I am doing all right. I feel a little bit awkward about that, if I'm honest, but I am doing that whole signing thing. So and I mean, I'm really blessed and really honoured to have done it. It's a publisher, quite a local publisher, just in Stafford, but he's doing a really great job as well. So it'll be available wherever books are sold, and we will have a whole load of books here at Lifecentral as well, because I'll be selling them at a cheaper rate than what you can get anywhere else. Because there's a lot of the book which is actually our story as a church as well, and in the dedication section, I actually dedicate most of it to the church, you know, because I think a lot of my story and our story as a family is interwoven with the story of the church as well, really. So,
I mean, we found out today you've been here as long as I've been alive.
Yes, we did find that out, that when I asked you when you were born the same year that I joined the church team, so I don't feel old at all.
Not at all.
Thank you.
No, not at all. What is the book about?
Okay.
That's the heart behind this little bit of an episode here. You know, what's the purpose? What's the heart behind it?
Okay. So coming out of COVID 5 years ago and the way the world has been, we at Spring Harvest really felt, we were praying about where's the church at in the UK. And one of the things that we felt is that we've all lost the sense of how great God is. And that word greater was a word that really resonated with us. So we really felt God say, what about we go on a 3-year journey exploring this word greater? So year one is my year, this year, 2025. And so I was asked to write a story or to write a book about the greatness of God. In other words, write a book about the great story of God.
Just a small topic then.
So it's massive. It's like literally, and I said, what do you mean by that? It's like creation, fall, redemption, perfection, the new heavens and the new earth, basically the whole story of God. So I thought, okay, that's fine. That's kind of been done. That's the Bible, but I understand it. So I went away, thought about it, prayed about it, you know, agonized, looked a lot. And then the more I got into it, I thought, actually, we do live in a world that has lost the sense of the big story. You call it the meta-narratives, you know, there's an idea around in kind of not only postmodernism, because we're beyond that, we're like what's called metamodernism now, where they reckon that all of the big stories have gone. And actually, the way the world is so divided, so polarized, we've lost that sense of being part of a big story. It's almost like there's no greater story. And as I started thinking about it, I thought, actually, that's a great title, No Greater Story, because there is no greater story, but there is. And the story of God, there is no greater story than the story of God. So basically, it's about the great story of God. So it's about God as the creator. It's about the fall. It's about God then as the redeemer. And it's about that ultimately God is the perfecter. The idea running through it is that every one of us has a story. none of us get the story we really want,
Yeah.
but all of our stories get redeemed and find meaning and purpose when they become part of God's greater story. So that's kind of the big picture of the book.
So if that is the big picture
Yeah.
behind the book, how have you made it accessible for the likes of me and the people listening?
That was the biggest challenge that I've been on, because initially it was like, okay, have I got to go to Genesis for the creator? Do I go to the Gospels for Redeemer? Then do I go to Revelation? And that's like the whole of the Bible. And I thought, I can't do that. And then I really felt God lead me to the book of Isaiah, which is 66 chapters, and there are 66 books in the Bible. And it's a little bit like a microcosm of the whole story of God.
Cool.
And Isaiah, like he sees God as creator. He talks a lot about the coming of the Messiah, the Redeemer. We celebrated at Christmas, and then at Easter, Isaiah 53, and then right at the end of Isaiah in chapter 65 and 66, he talks about the new heavens and the new earth. So actually, he's like the time traveling storyteller who threads the whole story of God, and so that's kind of where I'm basing it. But for me, I'm intensely practical, and so I thought that's like a theological book, and that's not what I want to be about. So I had this idea of splitting the book into 3 sections. So creator, redeemer, perfecter, and then splitting each of those into 3 and looking at the classroom, the living room, and the playground. So in each section, I'll look at the theology, which is the classroom. In the living room, I start looking at what does it mean in my life and your life that God is the creator? What does that mean? It means he's greater than our fears. He's greater than our limitations. He's greater than our understanding. And then the third section is the playground. So if God's inviting us to be a part of his story, how do we play our part? Everyone gets to play, and that's an interactive section. So there's lots of things you can do. There's things you can do with your family and your kids. There's things you can do with your church. And there's a link then to a website that we've created. So there's a QR code, and you land in this website, and that will give you loads of extra resources and videos and ideas and small group notes and all of that as well.
It's so good. Like whenever I've tried to get stuck into Isaiah, it's just so prophetic and so beautiful.
Yeah.
But there are times where I just shut down, and I just can't move past it. And so I'm actually really excited at the thought of it being broken down in a systematic way, in a way that will help me understand, but will enable us all to see the bigger picture. I think that's absolutely fantastic. You've shared with us that it is the big story of God, but is there more to it? You shared with me that it's a bit more than a book a little earlier on.
We're really hoping and praying that it's more than a book, that it's a resource. And the other thing that's exciting is that Spring Harvest is very passionate about inclusivity. And so it's written in a new font, which is a dyslexic-friendly font. We're also looking at an audible version of it as well. It's been a little funny because there has been a little conversation about, do I do it, the voice, or is it an AI voice? And one of our staff members, who will remain nameless, but he's called Andy Hancock, he says that he only listens to books. He doesn't read them. And the thought of running and having me speaking in his ears every day has caused him to be a little bit traumatized. It does look like it's not going to be my voice, but we haven't actually nailed that yet. So that will come.
Maybe we could do some auditions,
Yeah, maybe we could. I don't think they want a black country voice. That's why they've talked about AI or all other kinds of things as well.
It's got its own charm. It's got its own charm.
Yeah.
So you've talked to us a little bit about what the book's about, the purpose, the heart behind it. When is it coming out, Leon? When can we get our hands on it, and how?
Yeah, so it's released on March the 31st, wherever books are sold, Amazon or wherever they're sold. But we'll have a whole bunch of them here at Life Central. And on Easter Sunday and the 5 Sundays beyond, we will be selling them. It retails at $10.99. We're selling it here at £10 to people in the church. And also, Direction Magazine, which is the magazine that Elim produced, they're running a feature on it as well. They're giving us a bunch of the magazine. So we're going to give a free magazine to anybody who buys one from us on Easter Sunday or on the Sundays beyond.
So you heard it here first, folks. Get them here while they're hot, off the press. Leon, thanks so much for sharing this just incredible journey that you've been on over, less than the last 18 months. Really, I'm so excited to get my hands on a copy. Listeners, I'm sure that you are as well. Before we wrap up, I wanted to leave you with perhaps one more challenging question. And that would be, if you could describe the book in 3 words beyond no greater story, what would they be?
Hope, because I think we really need hope.
Amen, we do.
Perspective, We've lost our sense of the bigness of God and how great God is. And then I think adventure, because I think the story of God is an epic adventure.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
is.
strap line. And I tell a lot of stories. I tell stories of people here in the church and of other people that I know. I tell a lot of our story about Simeon and other aspects of family. But I tell quite a lot of stories about the church because Lifecentral Church is a massive part of our story. And I hope we're a part of Lifecentral's story as well, you know, and then together we are part of God's greatest story.
I think that is a beautiful place to finish. So thank you so much, listeners, for joining us today. We will see you very soon for the next episode of the Lifecentral Podcast. Ta-ra, everybody!